if you use salt on a tablecloth on Shabbos. Now, then we go by the last part of this is preparing a compress on Shabbat. For example, somebody is sick, or has a wound, are you allowed to make a compress on Shabbat? Well, we said already, wet paper towel, no problem. The wet cloth with colored liquid is not a problem because it would destroy the color. The material, it would make kalkalat. It would be damaging instead of being good. Right, so this is not, okay, so this is definitely not speaking about Cholei Sakana. If somebody is Cholei Mesukun, if somebody has, like, Chas v'Shalom, I don't know what, or let's say a woman who's giving birth, then this question is really not applicable. It's really more of Yeshrach Kohen Rosh, your wife has a headache, and you wonder, so a kid has fever, not crazy fever, just a little fever to make it feel comfortable. Now, when you're talking about colored liquids, you cannot use colored liquid on white paper because you're coloring. Now, then you're going to say to me, but David, if I'm going to throw away the paper, it's not a bar kayama, it's not something which I'm keeping, who cares? No, let's say you have a towel. And you want to make a warm compressor to make tea and to throw the tea. No warm compressor. That's fine. No. Then you don't have a problem. But that's not a compressor. We're talking now first. We're talking about wetting a material to use as compress with colored fluid. So I was thinking, what color fluid do you have? Well, you have spiritus, which is blue, or maybe you make tea and try to put that on it, but maybe you shouldn't. But on the other hand, I don't see the big deal because if it is paper towel, again, it is not a bar kayama. The Sefer claims that it is a problem unless, you made the tea or the coffee specially to color with this, to make with this a compress. If you were drinking tea, and let's say your wife says, listen, give me a hot compressor, you throw some of your tea in a cloth or in a paper towel, I think it is okay. Now, clear liquids is no problem, but it should be a clean material. Adif in Lo Yehudi, but if you don't have, and it's like, okay, again, Cholei Mesukan, somebody who is very sick, there's no question, you do what you got to do. Try to do Bishinui, but that's it. But, a little headache in the wife, little headache in the child, little fever, little this, little that. Maybe you can do without, so then you, Laila Tov Moshe, I love you, Laila Tov City. Then, what is that? Good night, Will. Next. Avoiding schita. Now this is a real big mama. This is a real big problem. If it is a real cloth or a paper towel, schita is always a problem. Schita is to squeeze out. So when you make the compress, you should put enough water and not too much. And the same way counts when I said before about cleaning your counter. If you have a stone counter, you want to clean it off with the shmata, that you either should leave the shmata in the sink and let it do its own thing, but not to pick it up, because then you're gonna like a sponge, you're gonna press out the water. Next, there's a good one, shif. Let's say you're on the boat, you come off the boat 10 minutes before Shabbat, and you have to make the last tour, you quickly put a suit, your Shabbat suit, you run home, and guess what happened? there's a little mud on the bottom of your suit, but it's dry. Then it is asur to make a shif-shuf, to rub it together in order to remove the stain. So even though you're not changing anything, you're not wetting anything, because that's the whole idea of cleaning. You're cleaning. Now, what else is prohibited with shif-shuf? If you use a brush, or if you fold double the material, or even if you really work the material with your hands to scrub it. Stam in the krachayat with the back of your hands, just to throw some food of your suit, that's not shif-shuf. But if you're starting to rub it really hard, then that's a problem. Or if you fold double the material and you rub it together, that would be a problem, right? Yeah. Now, shif-shuf is applicable to all material that have the malacha of merabim. So not only material, but also to leather and leather, all.
Oh, leather, okay.
Yeah. But again, not paper. So, for example, if you have leather-covered chairs and you see a stain on it, you cannot like rub it clean. Or a glove. Now, if it is a wetted stain.
Wait a minute. The paper towel, paper towel, if it's white when you're using it for colored water, nothing is asur.
It's asur because of coloring. But there I said, I have a problem, personally I have a problem with it. If you would say, David, I only have a paper towel and only have colored water, I would say if it's for cholei, do it, even if it's cholei lo mesukan. Lama? Why? Because it's not a bar kayama, it's really, you're not coloring it. Listen, if you have a beautiful white t-shirt, and you have some blue and some red coloring, and you make a whole tie-dye out of it, okay, then you can say, well, Sunday you're wearing the same t-shirt, and you were fashionable. But with a paper towel, you're going to throw in the garbage. You're really not, it's not really permanent coloring. And a lot of these halachot, consider permanency. For example, tying a shoe with a double knot is asur. Why? Because it really, on its own, will not go out. Even the Sefer Torah, you should only make with a the rabbit, the two rabbit ears, two bows, but only if you use it on Sunday. If you're not using it on Sunday, it's going to wait till Monday, then it is too much of a bar kayama. Then you should just tuck in the mapa and leave it alone. So a lot of things we're looking at. 24 hours is the key line here. There are a few different interesting. I'm going to go on a side note here. There are a few zmanim in halacha which we consider. There's 24 hours. We see that with tuma. We see that with kashrut. For example, and this is pure Shulchan Aruch. This is not what you do in your own kitchen. If you use a kli to boil milk, in theory and only halachically, 24 hours later, the nikra kli chadasha, and it would technically be parve. Nobody holds that way today. We don't do this, but according to Shulchan Aruch, it is such a inyan. Then there is the 7 days. We see Yom Tovim. You see by 7 is Shemitah. Then we have the year. Interesting. Shana Zegam Mashu. Also in Kashrut. If you have dishes which you didn't use a year, then also it loses its status of whatever it was before. In all these questions, ask your local Orthodox rabbi. If you can't get a hold of him, call the 917 number. Okay, back to what we're talking about. So then he says that even gentle rubbing, what I said is okay on dry stain, is not allowed on something with water. Why? Because you need very little action to dry once it's wet. The other thing is when you have on a shoe, like our shoes are like hard leather, unless you have the real expensive, $300 models. Many poskim hold you're not allowed to rub off, dust or mud from your shoes either. Others allow it, and the reason is because it's really not mekabel, it's not polat to bolat, it's really not absorbing the mud as internal, just lays on top. So there, if you just wipe it off, you know what I mean, it's not, you're not cleaning, you're just rubbing off merely something which is mudbak, which is glued to it. Plastic, vinyl, you will not find them in the Gemara or the earlier poskim. You can say they are not part of the Melacha of Melavin.
Why?
Because they are A, not mentioned, and B, because of something I said by accident before. They're not mekabel. It's very hard to make a piece of vinyl stain. Or rubber.
Vinyl stain.
The Chachamim are easier with them. It's interesting also if you go with a holy roller store, they sell you Shabbat brushes for the dishes, which are made not of bristles, but they're made of rubber, like, rubber teeth. And they feel because they're not mekabel, they're not polat or bolat, as in sense of kashrut, yes, but not in sense of dirt going in and coloring. I guess more or less is the question is why not. I would guess because it was a material the Chachamim didn't know, and they're less porous.
Yes.
Now it says you are allowed to the dust itself you're allowed to take off from a shoe, afilu even with a dry cloth. But you should do it very gentle, not working it hard. Schita we mentioned. Now, what is schita? We said before, it's squeezing out, it's pressing, wringing, is like taking a cloth and really, wringing it on two sides.
Bringing it out.
Shaking, really like shake it around in the air, He holds gripping tightly because you compress the water out of it. Sitting on it or standing on it. If you have wet fabric, you stand on it, water comes out too. But there I would like to think maybe that what is the toilet? Is there a toilet? Do you have are you benefiting from this? For example, it's raining and your wife doesn't like you to mud up the house and the kids. So she puts a towel by the floor. So when you come inside, you wipe your feet on the towel, you're not trying to squeeze out the water, you're trying to clean your shoes, the bottom of your shoes, so your wife is not going to kill you. So there I don't think schita would be applicable because that is not the kavanah you are having. Now, where does the schita actually come from? What is the shoresh? It comes from two separate malachot. Dosh, which we have in grain, and melavin for cleaning. For example, dosh would also be squeezing grapes or fruits, right?
It's great.
Yeah, well, the dosh is everything to do with taking pirot and garinim from the field, right? So squeezing, maybe even olives, squeezing an olive, passing it for the oil. I mean, the truth is, it's funny, I never saw anybody squeezing olive oil. And it's funny, Peloplia, I tried to squeeze olives, I get water out of it, I get oil, but I presume if the Gemara and everybody talks about it, there's such a thing. Goed, let's further. Midrash forms of schita and fabric generally goes when you squeeze a clear liquid from a cloth. What? Okay, sure. So on the Malbim, so you have schita on the two things. You have it on the dosh, which is self-explanatory. If you have grapes on Shabbat, you cannot start squeezing them out in a glass. But it's funny actually, because the Sefer forgets a very important thing here. You hear this?
Yeah.
By squeezing the grape in a glass, I have another issue also, that's separating bad from good. Or shifting, which is sifting, which is a separate Isur on Shabbat, which he doesn't mention here. Now, the Raita, why is Schita on the Malbim, on the cleaning? Because it takes out the dirt from whatever it's in. If it's wine in a tablecloth or whatever, and you're cleaning the force from pressing it out, cleans the material. Next, why it is of Asur? Because it's undesirable. For example, if you have a nice, beautiful white tablecloth, you don't want it to be wet. If it's wet, it's going to damage your table. It's not comfortable when you put your hand and your clothing on it. So, because it's not desirable, when you do schita, it's an avera. In clothing, like a jacket, it's uncomfortable to wear. A shirt, you might squeeze out when it's very wet. It's not comfortable. So that is the issue of schita. Now, very important, and it's something I said before, I was mechadesh the sefer. Schita does not apply to non-absorbent material. Like I said before, shoes which are really hard, like your work shoes. There's nothing you can squeeze out, there's nothing doesn't absorb. So then there is no problem, I'll give you another one. Do you have one of these real raincoats on your boat?
Yeah, but
it's vinyl, right? So biglal, it doesn't absorb the wetness, you're allowed on Shabbat to slide off the water or to even do schita on it, because you're not squeezing it out of the material. The wetness and the material is separate from each other. Interesting, no? Manyan.
Yeah, very.
You know, because it's for you, I'm sure very applicable. Now, you cannot use a sponge or a smartut, a cloth, for what?
Soak it up.
For washing the dishes, no, I'm already past it. For washing the dishes or your body, because when you do the scrubbing, you're doing schita. You're forcing out the water. But that's why I said you can use a plastic Bristol brush for cleaning off spoils on your plates if you need to use them on Shabbat the next day. And then we're going to finish by this next part. Yeah, if something wine or vodka or something falls on a tablecloth, you cannot clean it off on Shabbat itself. merely you might be able to put any absorbent
Now we can't put on it.
what?
Cook it up.
No, you shouldn't. No, because that's malvinoso. What you can do is you can put salt on top. Since salt is ocher nefesh, you put salt on top, and then that will soak up the wine.